Hey, it's Troy, and here we are in the centre of Krakow. We're actually in the main square. You can see all around me the beauty of Krakow. Glorious in the evening. It's quite dark now, actually, and to be absolutely honest, I'm not sure how this is going to come out. If it's going to come out well, or if it's going to come out incredibly badly and very dark. But I thought I'd try it anyway because I want to experiment using this new wonderful piece of camera equipment that I've got, and because as well I'm in a bit of a philosophical mood. Just had a bite to eat, and I thought it would be good to come on here and ruminate a little bit about travel and life and the meaning of all of this stuff. So here I am once again in a foreign city on my own. I was here with a friend of mine who has now gone home because I was meant to be going back to Berlin today, and that didn't happen because I'm an idiot and I messed up the tickets. So it means that I'm here for an evening on my own, foreign city, don't know anybody here, don't know the city well, and yeah, it's a strange existence, isn't it? It's a strange existence, I guess, that we all live, really. We've all been living through a very strange existence in the last 18 months or so, but this in particular is a strange existence that I have, I suppose, fashioned for myself. I have thrown myself somewhat into the existential void, much more than I was if you were watching my content earlier this year, or certainly last year, most of which was shot in London. And things have changed up a little bit, as you know. If you've been watching the stuff we've been doing recently, I've been traveling with James Tusk, going around Russia, going and doing lots of fun stuff over there, live approaching, coaching guys, creating content, and basically becoming unmoored from location. That's not to say that I've left London, that's not to say that I no longer have my place in Berlin, because I have both of those things. But I am doing something that I suppose probably I should have done a lot earlier, really, which is to take the show on the road to some extent and actually bring you the latest information from the streets. And we're on the streets now. You can see behind me the glorious nightlife here in Krakow. You know, actually bringing the latest news to you, the latest information from the streets, going around and actually seeing what's happening on the ground. Because as we've said numerous times in our streams recently, so many of the people on YouTube that you see, so many of the people who comment in this space are effectively navel gazing, in the sense that they're sitting in their bedrooms and they're not really out and about and they're not really living the life, they're not really doing it. But anyway, with all of that being said, what does all of this mean in terms of greater meaning? What does all of this mean in terms of life, my life, but also life in general? And something that often gets talked about by people who follow content about dating and relationships and all of that stuff is, okay, this game stuff that you're banging on about, it's all very well, but what is the end game of it? What is the end game of game? You learn this stuff, you learn these skills. If you want to travel, you travel for a bit, you have some adventures, you have some fun, and then where do you end up? What do you do then? What do you do when the fat lady sings, or what do you do when the music stops, or whatever allegory or metaphor you want to make for it? What do you do at the end? How does it all finish up? And this is a question that I don't think, I'm certainly not going to answer in this little video, and it's probably a question that it will take me the entire rest of the time when I'm creating content to get anywhere close to answering, and I probably won't even answer it then, because I don't think really there is an answer to it. It's actually something as well I've talked about before, created content on before, and I didn't answer it then either, really. This question of, okay, so what is the end game to all of this? Now, if you are somebody who has followed content creators in this area for a while, you will know that generally speaking what happens is that the people go one of two ways. They either say, right, okay, well all of that game stuff was fun, but now I'm going to do the right thing, I'm going to do the sensible thing, and I'm going to get married and have a bunch of kids and do what I probably should have done all along, but this time it's going to be better, because now that I understand the dynamics of male-female relations, then I'll be able to hold frame better in my marriage and it'll all be great. So that's one route that people take. The other route is to basically become a religious maniac and eschew everything that you stood for in the past, to say, okay, all of that stuff I did before, it was all nonsense, it was all satanic, it was all it was all evil and sinful and all the rest of it, and I'm going to turn my back on everything that I ever said was wrong, and now this is what you should be doing, lads. You know, pick up your copy of the Bible, start on page 1, and let's go through it, and yeah, exactly, you know, follow the word of God. So those seem to be the two pathways that have as yet been furrowed, I guess, by people in this space. And effectively, what it is it's a revulsion against being unmoored from the normal mores of society, right? These guys have gone against, you know, what is usual, which is that you go to university, you get married, you know, you're in a job, and then you've got a mortgage which you pay off for 40 years and then you die, sort of thing, and have a few kids and stuff along the way. These guys have turned their back on that for a period of time, and then they get to about their mid to late 30s and they sort of panic a bit and they go, oh damn, you know, I really am a little bit far from the shore now, aren't I? I really am a little bit far from the shore. What am I going to do? And they sort of panic and they go back to this very, in some cases, very conservative template for life. And in other cases, maybe they're not incredibly conservative, but they just go to a sort of just a much more traditional template, which is like, okay, I'm going to settle down, I'm going to do the right thing, in inverted commas, etc., etc. But what if you choose not to do either of those things? What if you say, well, actually, you know, all this stuff that I've been saying for the last 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 years about the inherent difficulties to be found with monogamous relationships, the inherent difficulties to be found with an institution like marriage, LTRs, girlfriends, all this kind of stuff. What if I actually meant all of that stuff and I actually stand by it and I inform my decisions through it, and so therefore I'm not going to, you know, make the mistakes that other people have made? If you know, you might want to say that, and then you might say that, and then you might also say, and also listen, I'm just not particularly the religious type. You know, I'm not saying I'm an atheist, but I'm certainly not somebody who is just going to full on embrace religion just because I've started to think, oh damn, I've been living the life a little bit here, I need to clean up my act. And this religion stuff seems to offer a framework that might help me to feel okay about myself as I go into the second half of my, the second act, if you like, of my existence on this planet. If you don't do either of those things, then you are sort of in a bit of an existential void, and you're in a little bit of a uncharted area. I mean, it's not entirely uncharted, of course, because people have not been married and not had families, and they have not been religious. I mean, it's not as if this is an entirely novel concept, but it does seem to be a bit of a novel concept in this space, and in this space where A, people are documenting this stuff and making videos and writing books about it and all the rest of it, and B, where we have all of these opportunities for cheap travel, for dating, for connecting with people globally, for just randomly one morning waking up and deciding to go to a city, and you've booked it by the afternoon and you're on the plane and then you're in the Airbnb or the hotel that evening. All of that stuff, as we've said ad infinitum, just wasn't possible years ago. That wasn't possible, you know, over, 10, even 15 years ago, it was just very, very hard to live this kind of lifestyle, and now it is. And you've got people like me who are also, as I say, documenting this stuff. So we are in this somewhat uncharted territory now, where maybe there's a few people at the forefront who will say, well, look, I am in my 40s, I am getting on a bit, I'm not getting any younger here, but I'm not going to give in to the dying of the light, which is a misquotation, a mangled misquotation of the D.H. Lawrence poem that will be familiar to D.H. Lawrence fans and also fans of Tom Torero, who used to quote it a lot. But yeah, you might say, well, actually, look, I'm not going to give in to the dying of the light. I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to document it, report back, and I'm going to tell you guys, what happens, what it's like, what is possible for somebody who is perhaps not in their salad years anymore, but nevertheless who's still got some tank in the pipes and who can still go out there and have a good time. I'm going to report back, and we're just going to see what happens. And bring it back to the topic of the video, what is the end game of all of this? Well, perhaps there just isn't an end game to any of this. Perhaps there isn't an end game to life in general, and perhaps all we can do is be okay with that. And probably a year or so ago, what I would have said was just chase pleasure, right? Because why not just, we're only here for a few years, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Why not just chase pleasure? What makes you happy? What makes you feel good? If that's sex, if that's nefarious substances, or low company, or wine, women, and song, then just whatever. Just go for it, because it's all going to be over soon anyway. I probably would have said that, but I think now I'd modify that a little bit and say maybe there is no end game to all of this, but be okay with that. And secondly, try to put out some positivity. Just try to put out some good vibes every day with the people that you're dealing with. Not in a super hippie-ish way, but just try to just transmit something a little bit good into the world. Try to give some value to other people, and be kind, and treat people as you would like to be treated, for the most part. It's not saying be an angel, but just be a decent sort of person as you're going about your life, and you're organising your life in a way that benefits you. And maybe that's the best we can do. And maybe there isn't an answer. And maybe we're never going to have a video where a content creator has worked it all out and suddenly reveals what the end game of game actually is, and everybody throws up their hands aghast, and they're like, oh, finally I understand. This is it, the golden fleece. It's like the suitcase at the end of Pulp Fiction, where they open the suitcase and it's finally revealed what the wonders within that suitcase actually are. Maybe that moment will never come, and maybe that doesn't really matter. Maybe we don't need that moment to come, as long as we're just getting up every day, we're doing things that make us happy, and we're also doing things in a way that creates a bit of positivity for those around us. And we're not causing too much harm. And maybe in the end, that's it. And would that be such a bad thing? I don't think it necessarily would. I mean, people, myself included, we want these definitive answers. We want this kind of like, right, okay, tell me exactly the right thing that I should do. Tell me precisely what the outcome will be if I take these particular actions. But the fact is, police are coming. Police are coming. This broadcast is so shocking that they've sent the feds to get it shut down. We want certainties, and life doesn't really furnish us with those certainties, because it's the old thing, you can be confident in your plan as hell until someone smacks you in the face or whatever it is, the Mike Tyson quote. And it's like that with life. You can say, well, I believe this is how things are, and therefore this is the course of action I've chosen, and this is the end game that I believe I will get from that, etc., etc., etc. And then life comes along and smacks you in the face. And all of those plans, all of that beautiful symmetry that you'd envisioned is all for naught. It's all for nothing. So with that in mind, it really is, and I hate to say this because it sounds cheesy as hell and it sounds woo and all the rest of it, but it really is, gentlemen, about living in the moment. Because genuinely, and I hope I can get that beautiful view in the background, because genuinely, we don't have anything else other than the moment. Okay, now we can get all Eckhart Tolle here about, how to do that, how to live in that moment and all the rest of it. But ultimately, that's really the way it has to be. And we perhaps just have to accept that our intellectualized conception of some sort of an end game is just not going to be manifest. And actually what's really important is going day by day, taking the right actions, putting value out into the world, having a great time, smiling, transmitting a bit of positive energy, and just seeing what the hell happens, and not trying to plan too much. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Who am I to say? What do I know? I'm just some idiot standing around in Krakow, cracking one off in Krakow, with a YouTube channel and a small subscriber count, and I'm just pontificating about nonsense. So you tell me what you think. Put it into the description box below, put it in the comments below, and let me know. Let me know what you think about all of this. That is my existential rant from Krakow over. I shall leave it there for now. Do get on my free daily email list. You'll see the link below. Do pick up Renegade Dating Blueprint, which is my collection of 11 books about dating, the dating marketplace globally, and all of that good stuff. Do grab the Dating Toolkit, which is a couple of my books narrated by Jack Napier. Well worth you getting hold of. And yeah, I'll leave it for there. And I will see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.